Dominica for some time. I think the maximum is 5 years.
Right.
Beyond 5 years, it means that you cannot vote. Would the identification card be able to help us to reach to that point?
Yes, one of the things that we are doing, we're also collaborating with the Immigration Department on the border management system, so that when we are doing this issuing the card, we're also going to be doing a verification to ensure that you are in compliance with the existing laws. So if the immigration records indicate that you have been living out of Dominica continuously for a period exceeding 5 years, then there's a process involved for removing you from that list.
Okay, let us presume now, because I've heard other talks in other circles where people are saying that what government can do is to have persons who in the diaspora who are overseas to get them to get the ballots to them to be able to vote. How does that deter what you're trying to do in reference to the Dominican who has not entered to Dominica in 5 years?
Well, I can't answer because the Commission has not taken a decision on ballots going out of Dominica.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that answer. Thank you. All right. These were the questions I really wanted to ask you, Mr. If you have anything that you need to clarify, you could help us.
Well, one of the things that the Electoral Commission in the near future will be going on let's say, an educational drive in sensitizing the population on the amendments that are going to take place within the laws and how it's going to impact on them.
All right. But I think one of the most important things that we need to do in the whole process, especially people who are out of Dominica, is to sensitize them in reference to the identification card that is going to be used sometime in the future in reference to getting them to vote.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Can I just say two things. One is, and I'll take that secondly. One is, but firstly, you asked me a question about election observers and so on. I think that's a question I suspect that Mr. Larrock could flesh out because it's him and his staff that would have to deal with that. So I suggest you just that.
Yes. Okay, I asked the AG earlier on in reference to the observers. I asked him in reference to who would be, because we have known of other observing teams who have been to Dominica to observe our election. Who would give that permission for these individuals?
Okay, well, I should probably say that we have only had election observers twice, in 2009 and 2014. And in both instances, the government invites observers to come in. And once the missions have been established, the commission give them the authority under the law to be at the polling station, because the law says that no one shall congregate within 100 yards of a polling station. So the commission gives the approval for these individuals to go and observe the election. They go in the polling station, but not in the voting booth.
Okay, so you're saying, as I asked the AG earlier on, there was no provision in the law before?
No.
Okay, but permission was granted by the invitation of government?
Government, yes.
Okay, great. So now there's going to be provision in the Act to have observers.
Observers, yes.
All right. It's not going to say what kind of observer. It's not going to spell out what kind of observers.
The commission will address
the commission will determine that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yes. All right.
Now, if I can just hold Mr. Larrock just for 2 seconds more, because I think we perhaps need to set some more context. And before he leaves, I think it's important because we're constantly referring to the commission. And I think it's important for the listeners to understand. Some may do, but some may not. The whole concept of how the commission has come about and its role, because we hear different things in the public. And so the genesis of the commission is actually from the Constitution. All right, the Electoral Commission we're referring to here, and that's provided for at Section 56 of the Constitution, Section 56(1), which I shall read briefly because I think it's important, states as follows with certain adjustments. There shall be an Electoral Commission for Dominica. Then subsection 3, the Electoral Commission shall consist of A chairman appointed by the President, acting in his own deliberate judgment. B, 2 members appointed by the President, acting in accordance with the advice of the Prime Minister. And C, 2 members so appointed by the president, acting in accordance with the advice of the leader of the opposition. So I think it's clear from that what you have is both the government and the opposition are constitutionally entitled and empowered to effectively nominate 2 representatives to serve on the Electoral Commission.
So you see,
the 5th person, or the chairman, is appointed by the president in his own deliberate judgment.
So you're saying that there's total transparency in that process of the commission?
Absolutely.
So
and both parties have full right and entitlement and power to impact the work and decisions of the Electoral Commission.
When you say both parties, you're talking about both political parties?
Yes, political parties.
Right. So both political parties have the equal power, the equal right. 2 persons from the Labour Party, that's because we're talking about parties, and it says the opposition and the government. So let's get it correct.
I was about to say, in the issue of parties, if we want to be actually precise, it is the government is entitled to appoint, or more specifically, the Prime Minister, to nominate 2 people, and the leader of the opposition
to nominate 2,
whatever party that may be at any particular time.
And then the president has the chairman.
That's correct.
All right, so that's 5. And with that commission, when it's established, that they put the rules and regulations in place. Is that right, Mr. AG?
The commission has power to make regulations, quite extensive power actually, which is provided for under Section 25 of the Registration of Electors Act, which you were just going through. And Section 25 actually lists a series of areas of specific provision. Section 25 of the Act, the actual Act already, which is the Act 201 of the laws of Dominica. And if you or your listeners have the opportunity to look at it, either now or subsequently, you'll see that Section 25 provides a list of areas for the commission to make various. I'm looking at it now. I managed to get hold of it. The commission may make regulations with respect to, and it does list a series of areas that the commission may make regulations in respect to. So it's important that people understand that the Electoral Commission is an independent body, separate and distinct from the government. So it actually comes under the office of the president.
So let us, because some persons may want to coin it as a political organization placed by the government. I'm happy that you are able to make it very clear that the opposition the opposition party has 2, and the government party has 2, giving you a total of 4, with the president with 1, making it 5. So the myth that we have been hearing in the past about the commission and its role that it plays, does this exist presently today, or is there amendment to the Act in reference to who makes up the composition of the Electoral Commission?
No, the composition of the Electoral Commission has not been interfered with in any way, shape, or form by the amendments that are proposed and will be debated in the House next week or sometime thereafter.
That is very valid. The reason why I'm asking that, because when I hear from other circles and many other circles, they tend to spell out that when people ask for electoral reform, that it looks as if it's the government not wanting to do it. And you, as you're rightly now saying, that the commission is not going to be interfered with, because this is a constitutional organization, or a constitutional body, I should say, in ensuring that the rules of election is being carried.
Well, maybe just since you've extended the question on it, maybe I should just say in relation to the Electoral Commission and Section 25, the amending Act, or bill as it will be, as it currently is until enacted, if it is, actually makes provision, Clause 12, and there's no need to go into it in detail. We can probably come back to it later. But it actually makes provision for amendment of Section 25, which is the provision that I referred to a while ago, Section 25 of the Registration of Electors Act, Chapter 201, but only insofar as it actually extends the areas that the Commission's regulatory powers extend to by inserting new paragraphs J, K, L, M, and N in addition to those which already exist. For example, power in respect to national identification cards, including the procedure to be followed in the issuing of national identification cards. So that is something that now the Commission, if and when hopefully the amending piece of legislation is passed, the Commission will be the body with the power to make regulations.
I don't know about you, but I seem a little more confused, though, because this morning and yesterday, I heard from the both commissioners who seem to have some serious concern. Mr. AG, all due respect to you, I don't know if you're addressing the issue at hand as it relates to the amendment of the piece of legislation. And I heard on DBS radio that you challenged me to invite you to Q. It's an open door policy, sir. You can come to Q, as long as you notify me that you're coming. The door is open. So, again, it's an open door policy, Mr. AG. I think, we can clarify, if you will, some of the issues that you raised. I don't think that the issues really are being dealt with. I heard Mr. Hilary Schillenford this morning and yesterday. Let's listen again, and I'll get him on the line. Yes, Mr. Hilary Schillenford, this is you from yesterday.
Those of us who are playing labor rights, those of us who playing like we have no interest in politics, we're not political. Those of us that think we're too young, those of us at the college, at the high schools, that don't stand up and listen and read that piece of legislation and ask our parents to take action. Come out. If you are called to come tomorrow, to come Friday, to come Saturday, to come Sunday, to come Monday, to come on Tuesday on my birthday, to come out and stop this piece of legislation. Come out and show the government that we are prepared to work with you if you work with us. But we're not prepared to sit there and have you violate the constitution of the country. This piece of legislation will be going against the constitution of this country, Matt. And we cannot allow that piece of law to become constitutional, to allow bribery and treating, Matt.
I don't know, I may have missed out on the other part of the conversation. I don't know if it dealt specifically with bribery and treating. Maybe I'll play some more sometime in the near future. But Hilary Schillenford, you on the line at this time. Are you satisfied that the Attorney General dealt with your concerns? Commissioners Hilary Schillenford and Mr. James was on the radio, and of course the opposition was there earlier, and of course taking their concerns, hitting the road with their concerns for massive protests. Hello.
Matt.
Yes, sir.
What do you really expect from Levi Peters? What is Levi Peters' contribution to this country? When do you ever hear Levi Peters speak? Do you ever remember we have an Attorney General except times like now? Do you hear Levi Peters anywhere, Matt?
He's very silent.
But the man that is like someone would believe we don't have an Attorney General, Matt. Matt, Levi Peters is the same Levi Peters that when let me deal with it first. Matt, Levi Peters talks about the composition of the commission.
2 and 1, he said.
He behaves like an innocent. It is free and true, Matt. Why I say free and true? Two appointed by the president on the advice of the prime minister. The other one appointed by the president in his so-called deliberate judgment, Matt. Who appoints the president? Who is the president loyal to, Matt? The president comes straight from being a minister, where Skerrit was his boss. And Skerrit installed him as president. What do you expect, Matt? In effect, every single thing we bring forward, even if you listen to the debate and you bring a 3 years old child, to vote on who won the debate, and the child would give us maybe 90, while they give the others maybe 50%. When the the chairman time to vote, Button will vote in favor of them. Even if you check the wall is a clock that there and they say it's a mango. When we put it to a vote, Button will say it's a mango. But that is what happens at the commission. Levi Peters is no innocent. He knows that. He knows that they give everything and they just have to shove it down the throat of the commission. Because Alec sells passport, they registers banks. Kondoni is an economist in the passport seller, he registers bank. It's a whole heap of passport sellers that they're at. Are they going to affect the status quo, Matt? So for Levi Peters to come and talk that garbage on the radio, to say the commission is independent and it's 2-1, you know better than that, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Is that same Levi Peters when there was a case, a judicial review case against Isidore, and a young attorney from the Attorney General office happened to be passing. I heard that there was a case, and there were no attorneys for the state, and decided, aggressive as she was, to go and represent the state. Levi Peters blows that attorney. He had a press conference, Matt, if you recall. And at that press conference, Levi Peters said, we gave no such instruction to represent the state. A matter against the state and a magistrate. The Attorney General refused to give representation. And we see a number of cases like that in Dominica, where Levi Peters refused to represent magistrates at judicial reviews. You hear me, Matt?
Are you saying that Levi Peters does not have the moral authority to speak on behalf of government?
No moral authority to speak on issues like that. You have to come with clean hands. He knows how it works in that system. He knows that he refused to represent the state when people bring matters against the state if they are cronies of the government. A classic example is Isidore. Are you with me, boss?
Yes, I'm here.
And there was. But I just want to mention the one is Isidore. So Matt, Levi Peters know that the composition of the commission is a fake. And every single thing. Okay, for example, we can clearly say that the government has no respect for the commission. You hear me, Matt?
I'm hearing you.
The only single thing the commission went against the wish of the government on was when Burton voted in favor of campaign financing laws. And he was under severe pressure when he did that. He voted with myself and when fire was in that commission, and he voted enough on the same side with us. And Ali could die. But that is the only time government refused to put it. Every other thing they did, the nonsense with the three of them against two of us, whether they lose the debate, when it comes to the vote, they voted as a block. Three of them in one block, two of us on the other side. I have it. The only thing Button support us on, Matt, the government refused to put it in the legislation. When young people sit there and have a government trying to buy elections, treat people, pay people tickets to come from overseas, go overseas and represent people at an embassy, Matt. And you know the embassy is the government. Every single person at the embassy is an appointee of the government. How can you take a person who is actively involved in politics and have them being a returning officer, registering officer? It is not right, Matt. It happens. But for the Electoral Commission and the Chief Election Officer to support that garbage, it clearly shows that they have their own interests.
Well, let me ask you a question quickly before you go. Yesterday you made a call for Dominica to come out and, of course, go against this piece of legislation. We heard Mr. AG today. Do you think that Dominicans should now listen to the AG? What do you think they should do?
But the AG is talking total crap. The AG himself, we want to put the question to him, AG, do you have any interest in any company selling passports? The AG has his own interest to protect. I want to ask the AG whether you have interest in any company out there selling passports. Clarity here for us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hilary Shilling, for the commissioner who spoke yesterday. Of course, called on Dominicans to come out and stand up against this piece of amendment. And Mr. AG, again, the invitation is open to you. I heard you challenge me on the Nation station this morning to come to Q95. You are more than welcome to do so. The debate continues. Yesterday, we heard from Mr. Trevor Johnson, very concerned out of Trinidad. Let's play a piece of this at this time.
Matt, this is Trevor Johnson.
Yes, sir.
You know, Dominicans need to put on their thinking caps. I remember when we attended St. Luke's School, we had teacher Mary Boy. You know, you remember her.
Mm-hmm.
We all remember her at St. Luke's School. Very good teacher. She always told us to put on our thinking caps, meaning think outside the box. I listened to Lennox this morning. Lennox indicated to us that Parliament will be in session on Tuesday to debate changes to the electoral law, meaning that Skerrit is now going to Parliament to legitimize electoral bribery. We know they've mastered the art of electoral bribery for years, a number of years. Every time there's an election, we have a number of Dominicans being imported, chartered, right, with the assistance of Barbara Daly and Hatley Henry. We have all the evidence of that. And we all know that there's a matter before the courts dealing with electoral bribery. But you know what's happening? You, me, Lennox, and the rest of the Dominicans, we don't really trust our courts, you know. We don't trust our judges in Dominica at all. The kind of judgments you're hearing these days, we don't trust them. So let me tell you what's going on, what's going down right now. These guys have gotten word that the matter before the court right now, the bribery matter before the court, they realize they cannot handle that one. They're going to lose that matter. Right? And of course, we all know in Dominica, electoral petitions take years to be dealt with by the court. In Trinidad, in 2015, there was an electoral petition. In fact, Tony Asavans was part of the government's team. Within 6 months of the election, the people of Trinidad knew who their legitimate representative in parliament are. They knew that. Because the courts made a declaration within 6 months. In Dominica, they allow Skerrit to have almost a full term in office before the courts deal with these matters. So we are in 2017. 2017 is almost over. We are in June. 2017 is almost over. 2018 is really the final year in Skerrit's new term. So we know that the courts are going to deal with the matter between now and 2018. Skerrit already knows that he's going to lose. They've already advised him because we don't trust them. We know a lot of cocoa macaque is taking place in the OECS judiciary already. We know that. Plenty cocoa macaque. So his team has already been advised that they're going to lose the matter. Of course, Skerrit is not going to go before the court and lose this matter. He's not going to allow that to happen. So before the judgment by the court, you know what's going to happen? He's going to call the elections. And because he's already gone to Parliament to legitimize electoral bribery, he can continue importing his voters. He can continue doing it now. It's legal now, you know. So that's what is happening. What do we do? I heard you asking Lennox this question this morning. I am tired of Dominicans relying on Lennox to lead the change in Dominica. It's not. It shouldn't be left to him to do anymore. Dominicans need to go to Parliament and protest and demonstrate. We have to do that. I have some business to do in Dominica next week. If it wasn't for that, I'm in Dominica. We need to stop that nonsense. We have a guy who's been, as far as I'm concerned, the DLP they've been stealing the elections. They've mastered the art of bribery. I have the 2009 chartered flight list of people. I have the 2014 list. They've mastered it. So what they've done, they've gone they have a list of all voters in Dominica. I mean, these guys are good. They know who are DLP voters. They put it in bold. Labour Party voters, UWP voters. They know everybody who is voting for which party in Dominica. They know that. And they know how many people they need to import. They're importing voters. So they charter in this flight to bring in people to vote in our elections. So they know La Plaine, they were going to lose the election. When I was in Dominica for the elections, I said, Lennox, you have it in the bag. Because I was relying on what I'm seeing on the ground. On the ground in Dominica, workers winning the elections outright. Labour will have only about 6 seats. But on the ground, we know they're going to lose because the Dominican people, they are fed up of these guys. Right? So these guys, they take the list, the electoral list, and the voters list, and they study it, and they know who is voting Labour, who is voting workers. And they know how many people they have to import from Guadeloupe, Antigua. Vince is involved in that too. And I have the emails. Barbara Daly is involved. Hatley Henry. All these guys are involved in the importation of voters, bribery, in the bribery of voters. They're involved in that. We know that. So they bring these voters to Dominica. They know that they need 500 people to win the elections in La Plaine. They import 600. They win by 100 votes or sometimes 50 votes. That's okay. We win. A win is a win. You know what I mean? In our football days, Matt, if you score one goal, a win is a win, you know. You know what I mean? You know, Sin City could be working us whole evening and ball boys come and lick them up. By one goal. We win. A win is a win. We have to take a win. So these guys, that's what they're doing. And I've been hearing people calling for a change of leadership of the United Workers' Party.
Okay, Trevor, what I'll do, we will deal with that on another note. That's very important. So we will, of course, allow you to air your views on this one. It's 449-3095. And of course, this is Trevor out of Trinidad expressing his views on just what is going to happen. 146.
The views expressed during this program are not necessarily those of WISE-Q95 FM Radio. WISE-Q95 FM Radio has not been able to independently verify the factual correctness of the allegations and statements made during this program and cannot vouch for their accuracy. Therefore, WISE-Q95 FM Radio will not accept any responsibility or liability for the statements or allegations made in the course of this program.
146, I think I have Commissioner Wayne James on the line. Hello?
Hi, good afternoon, Matt Peltier.
Yes, how are you, sir?
Not too bad, Matt, and good afternoon to Dominicans.
Good afternoon, sir.
The Dominicans at home here and overseas. Very interesting times, Matt, very interesting times.
Yes, very, very interesting. You heard the Attorney General, though. What do you make of that?
Well, Matt, first of all, I heard my colleague, Mr. Shillingford, a while ago, and as I have made it public, this is a gentleman in whom I'm well pleased. You know, and I will keep repeating this. I don't think I could have gotten a better partner to be with me on the Electoral Commission at this critical time in the juncture of Dominica's the development. And you know, I am prepared to go to the last with him, because this is a man, you know, who really understands what we need in this country, and I share the very same view. You know, Matt, I listened to what you played there in relation to the Attorney General and Cecil Joseph and even the Chief Elections Officer. I do not know whether the Attorney General dealt with the aspect of the bribery and treating part of the legislation. I do not know, because he did not play that. Mm-hmm. But based on what he said in relation to the composition of the Electoral Commission, and give the impression that it is such an independent body, which is right, the Constitution says that. But you know, I have always been taught, you call a spade by its rightful name. Matt, whereas the Constitution says that 2 persons are nominated by the Prime Minister, 2 by the Leader of the Opposition, and appointed by the President. And the President appoints the chairman in his own deliberate judgment. My colleague, Mr. Shillingford, said it very well. Young people of Dominica and Dominicans, the Christian-minded people of this country, let us get serious to save Dominica. Charles Angelo Savre came from the Parliament building today. Roosevelt carried me in his bus and made him the president of Dominica. People of Dominica, if Roosevelt carried, make Charles Savre the president, allowing him that luxury, and he appoints somebody on an important constitutional body as the Electoral Commission as the chairman. I'm leaving it to you, young people of Dominica, Christian-minded people of Dominica this afternoon. Who is this chairman going to be loyal to? Is it you, the people of Dominica? Or is it his master, Angelo Charles Savre, whose master is Roosevelt Skerritt? I mean, how simple can I put this for you? But I have faith in the young people of Dominica and the Christian-minded individuals in this country. The civic society, we are asking for your help at this critical time. But this is getting very emotional for me, you know, because I am seeing what is going to happen in this country. So whereas an Attorney General, Levi Peters is no 2-year-old child. And as Hillary said, how often do you hear Levi Peters open his mouth and speak? They are running around in town hall meetings in this country. They have done several of them. How many of these town hall meetings have they brought these pieces of legislation at those town hall meetings and asked the people of Dominica what is their view on that? We have not heard that. And why? There's a reason why. They don't want to get the truth. Because as Trevor Johnson just indicated, Matt, Roosevelt Skerritt and the Labour Party want to legitimize stealing of elections. Parents of this country, I am calling on you this afternoon. You have to decide this afternoon whether you want your children to go to school and involve themselves in cheating at school in order to do well in exams. Because that is exactly what the government of Dominica is going to do in the Parliament of Dominica in order to remain in power. They're going to steal an elections, so they're legitimizing that. I want to hear Levi Peters on that. And why is Levi Peters is challenging you to ask him to come to Q95? I want to say to you, Matt, I am prepared, and I'm sure Mr. Shillingford will be prepared, to stand in Q95 with Levi Peters, and let's deal with these two pieces of legislation in terms of the bribery and treating.
So you want to do that face to face?
Face to face, I'm challenging Levi Peters to that. You understand? But Dominicans, you are the ones that is going to decide what happens from now until Tuesday.
All right. I'll tell you what. Thank you, Mr. James. And with me for a few minutes this afternoon again is the opposition leader and leader of the United Workers' Party, Mr. Lennox Linton. Lennox Linton, you're joining the debate. What is really going on? Did you understand anything that Mr. Levi Peter had to say?
Good afternoon, Matt. Good afternoon to the people of Dominica, the people of Concord and Marigot, and our brothers and sisters at home and abroad. Matt, it was in 1776, Thomas Paine wrote some famous lines. I quote them this afternoon. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in crisis shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. I don't want us this afternoon, Matt, to underestimate the power of the people. What lies in the goodness that lies in the heart of man and woman in Dominica, and their desire to see things go right in this country. I lamented this morning the significant length of time in which Dominica has found itself adjusting to the corrupt, roguish behavior of the people in the government over a number of years. And I pointed to some of the behaviors that are particularly appalling, atrocious, that we ought not to be tolerating in civilized society. The reason we are going on this mission, Matt, 18 meetings over the next 5 days, public meetings across Dominica over the next 5 days, leading up to an engagement in the city of Roseau on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, Tuesday morning, the day that the government will go to Parliament with the proposed amendments to our electoral laws, some of which we find particularly offensive and just dead wrong. You cannot at this time in the history of this nation be seeking to legitimize the criminal acts of bribery and treating as they are provided for in our election laws, specifically the House of Assembly Elections Act. And I want to say this afternoon, Matt, that had it not been for us, the parliamentary opposition, indicating that a meeting of the parliament was scheduled for Tuesday next week, at which the government would be seeking to amend the electoral laws, you would not have heard a single word from Levi Peter about these pieces of legislation, these important pieces of legislation that they're seeking to amend to suit themselves in the Dominica Labour Party, to enable them to continue with the irregular, illegal practices that they have used in the last 3 election cycles, in particular, to steal elections in Dominica. You would not have heard a word from him because clearly the intention is to go into the parliament, sneak into the parliament with this legislation, use the majority of the government to ramrod it through, and everything will be nice and fine in the morning. Get the police to try to scare and intimidate people, and life will be well the morning after they do what they have to do in Parliament. It is not going to go down like that, Matt, for the simple reason that Dominicans have had enough of this behavior. Dominicans have had enough of Roosevelt Skerritt trying to bring Dominica under his thumb as though it was willed to him in somebody's, it was given to him in somebody's will. that he can do what he wants of people, and all will be well. This, mark you, is coming right after the country has had its concerns about Montfared, concerns about the lack of jobs, concerns about the roguish behavior of selling diplomatic passports to crooks and criminals. The country has concerns about the economy not growing, about opportunities for young people being non-existent, about the state of play of education, the state of play of sporting facilities around the country. The farmers are suffering, the carpenters are suffering, the masons are suffering, the fishermen are suffering. The people all around Dominica are having a hard time making ends meet. But there are a few privileged people who are enjoying millions of dollars and luxury living off the backs of these very poor people, very same poor people. And the people are sick and tired of it. Now it has worked so well for you. It has worked so well for them. They want to ensure that it never goes anywhere. And so they've now declared war on the laws of Dominica, so they can do what they want with the laws to ensure that they will always be able to do what they have to do to remain in power in Dominica. It is not going to work.
So you're not relenting even after?
No, man, this is not a time to relent. This is a time to stand up for Dominica. This is not about Lennox Linton, it's not about Eurozone individual, it's about what he wants to do to Dominica. The same Isle of Beauty, the same Isle of Splendor, the Isle to also sweet and fair that we have been asked to stand up for and to be fair with and to be firm in our representation for. That is why we're going on this mission. Right across Dominica, 18 meetings over the next five days. And we will culminate that with a massive gathering in Roseau on the morning of Tuesday the 9th. Now, to Mr. Levi Peter. The law on bribery, sir, is clear at Section 55 of the House of Assembly Elections Act. The law on treating is clear at Section 56 of the House of Assembly Elections Act. In your corrupt bid to manipulate the laws, you are now seeking to add a Section 57 that defines the acts that you have been involved in that constitute bribery and the acts that you've been involved in that constitute treating. You want them defined in such a way that they will no longer be seen as treating. So you introduced a phrase in Section 57. It says, for the avoidance of doubt. What doubt? Was there any doubt what treating meant under the law? Was there any doubt what bribery meant under the law? Bribery has to do with offering a valuable consideration in exchange for the support of a voter. And we have said repeatedly that when a political party goes through the habit of purchasing airline tickets for people to come from faraway places into Dominica to vote, that is a valuable consideration, and the act amounts to bribery within the meaning of the House of Assembly Elections Act. What Levi Peter and Roosevelt Skerrit and company are saying now is that they don't want there to be any doubt. They have been bribing people by bringing them home to vote and paying their passages and so on. They no longer want that to be considered as bribery. So they create a Section 57 to say, for the avoidance of doubt, such a practice will not be construed to mean bribery. That's number one. They are also creating a new piece of the legislation now, an amendment to introduce a definition that says legitimate expenses will include provision of public entertainment. Well, that is deemed to be treating under the existing act. There is a case that went into court against 15 members of the current government in 2015. The case was filed, within 6 months after the election as required by the House of Assembly Elections Act. The case was filed. The government attorneys decided to file for judicial review against the decision to file the case, to accept the case in the court. That matter was heard over a year ago, and it is still waiting on a decision. So while this particular piece of legislation is being interpreted by the court, the government is going to Parliament to use its majority to change the law in favor of itself, in favor of ministers of government who are before the court on a charge of bribery, on a charge of cheating, Now they want to put in the amended legislation a definition that will make what they did and they are accused of doing before the court, they're brought before the court for it. They want the law now, the new law, the amended law to say that is no longer an offense. Matt, we have to fight this. When I say we, I don't mean you and I mean we, the people of Dominica. The people of Dominica from all walks of life. And when I say all walks of life, I mean all walks of political life as well. I'm not just talking this afternoon to supporters of the party that I have the privilege of leading, the United Workers' Party. I'm talking to supporters of the Dominica Labour Party, because this is your country too. I'm talking to supporters of the Dominica Freedom Party. This is your country as well. I'm talking to supporters of Papi's Party. This is your country as well. I'm talking to the supporters of no party. This is your country as well. And you ought to take an interest in the things that men are doing to destroy your country in their own interest, for their own survival, for their own enrichment. Haven't we sat down the last couple of weeks in Dominica, watching the government go town hall after town hall? Have you heard them in any town hall mention this important matter of changes to the electoral laws?
No, I haven't.
You have not?
No.
The reason you have not is the same reason everybody else has not, is because they have not done it. They didn't think it was important enough. All they want to do is to sneak it in to the Parliament, use their majority to get it through. What else is happening in the Parliament next week that is of interest to us, Matt, and ties in with all that we're talking about? The government is presenting evidence to the Parliament next week that Roosevelt Skerrit should go as the finance minister, because the government is presenting to the Parliament a request for approval of supplementary appropriations. This happens where a budget is approved for the amount that you should spend in the financial year, and for some reason or another, you have to overspend the budget to get X or Y done. For the first 10 months of the financial year, without any recall to Parliament, the government has overspent the budget that was approved in July last year by $154.7 million. They've been running at the rate on average of $15.4 million every month, overspending an average of $15.4 million every month for the first 10 months of the financial year. That is the sort of reckless management of the finances of this country that Roosevelt Skerrit will confirm in the Parliament when it meets on Tuesday, and which ought to say to the people of Dominica, it is time for him to go. You cannot have that level of reckless stewardship of public finances where you are overspending a budget approved 10 months earlier by an average of over $15 million a month. Listen to something else. You see all this talk about citizenship by investment and what we're getting from it? Okay, our passports are being sold. Our passports are being sold for the lowest price that passports are being sold in the international market. People have been rushing to buy it in the last couple of years because I understand there's some attractions to the various features and ways in which the programs are offered. Fine. You're the cheapest passport on the market, but you still require to have, you have a lot of agents who are involved doing their own promotion to get the passport sold so that you can get the revenue. But then you still have an exclusive arrangement with a marketer who you paid $15.9 million in 2015-2016. For the 12-month period, July of 2015 to June of 2016, you paid your exclusive marketer for CBI programs, the very same gentleman who arranged the honorary doctorate for Roosevelt Skerritt at Lovely Professional University in the Punjab. That gentleman was paid, his firm was paid, $15.9 million for marketing CBI in 2015-2016. And then, in the first 6 months of this financial year, July to December of 2016, that same company was paid $35.2 million.
You said 35.
$35.2 million. You add both together, and for the 18-month period, you get a grand total of over $52 million that this firm is paid for the sale of Dominican passports. This is who is really benefiting from the sale of Dominican passports. Not the ordinary Dominican who still cannot find a job and who is being offered a toilet or some galvanized or some plywood for their silence. The real beneficiaries of citizenship by investment are the multi-million dollar fee makers, the CS Globals, $52 million over 18 months. And when you put all that together, you understand why the necessity for Roosevelt Skerritt to remain where he is and not move, even though people will want him to move. He wants to have the system rigged in such a way as he will never go anywhere. And that is what the amendments proposed for Tuesday are all about. We want the government to pull back.
All right. Let's take a few phone calls. I'm hoping to talk to Mr. Billy Doctorow. Of course, we have an attorney at law in the house as well. Ask him a few questions before we wrap up. Hello.
Matt, good afternoon to you. Good
yes,
afternoon, good afternoon to the people of Dominica.
Yes.
We're supposed to stand up, Matt, on Tuesday. That should not be able to pass in the Parliament of Dominica. That damn nonsense must come to a halt. Mr. Skerritt is supposed to be the servant of the people, and we're talking too much. That is why that action is going on. On Tuesday, we are going to come out in massive numbers. Whether the police put barricades or not, we are going to show Dominicans our strength, Matt. Our children will never have a future under this administration. How the hell you can tell me you want to pass laws that you can rig the election? Those nonsense, they must come to a halt. Matt, where is the churches? Where is the institutions? Where is those pastors? Where is those organizations? After all, Dominica is crying. Dominica is hurting. We are going to come out in large numbers, and somebody should go to the Parliament and take the mace. No law passes on Tuesday. They will see our strength on Tuesday.
All right, caller. Thank you very much. We move on. A number of phone calls. People want to express themselves at this time. Hello.
Matt,
yes.
Listen to the discussion. They are allowed, the Labour Party or whoever in the government at the time, are allowed to go anywhere, especially where they have a lot of Dominicans, and gather all those people to come to vote. So where would the other party get the money from to do anything like that? So you see, that is unfair in the first beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, too. Thank you. Hello. More phone calls.
Matt, how are you doing?
I'm all right, sir.
Matt, I'm calling again, and I'm going to call and repeat the same thing until Tuesday. I am speaking directly to the 18,000 Dominicans living in Dominica who were in the majority who voted for the United Workers' Party in 2014. Stop being cowards. All that is needed is 5% of all you. 5%. If 20 come, well, it wouldn't have space for all you in Roseau. But 5% is fine. Do not be cowards. The DLP, they win by bringing in people. The people responsible forgiving the DLP, that so-called majority. They are back in Atlanta, in New York, in Antigua and Guadeloupe, back at their home. You who live in Dominica, you voted for the United Workers' Party to be in office. And if it wasn't for the fraud and the bribery that they're trying to legitimize now, they would not have been in office. You have to stop them. Do not be afraid. Bye-bye.
All right, more telephone calls. I told you for a few minutes we'll have an attorney at law based in the BVI, former officer in the DPP's office in Dominica. Hello.
Sorry. Good afternoon, Lennox. Good afternoon.
Yes.
Look, I'm listening to all of this, and I have to tell you, it is a matter of great concern and should be of great concern to all Dominicans. If Levi Peters, on your invitation, and perhaps he won't turn up, you see, that's another problem. I would suggest that you write the gentleman formally as the Attorney General, ask him to turn up, and have another lawyer as well.
Let me tell you what's happening. Mr. Levi Peters was on DBS radio this morning, and he challenged me publicly to invite him. So I'm challenging him publicly to do just that. Come up anytime, the door is open. I have an open door policy, okay? So that's what's going on.
All right, Matt, but I would add as well that there should be someone else with an alternative view. In fact, I heard both
the commissioners, yes,
Billingford talking on the same issue. This issue is sufficiently important and critical for the country that we have very, very expansive discussion, even perhaps if we can manage it before we come to Tuesday. I am very, very concerned that all of this stuff is going to lead to a political crisis in the country, and at that point, will we have social disorder? Social disorder is not a matter that can be controlled. And when you have social disorder, are we going to have actions from the police? And what side are the police going to take in matters like this? Because to be perfectly candid with you, and Lennox must himself have a similar concern, I don't trust them. I must be perfectly honest and say I don't trust them. I think all of these people in the police division, well, not all, quite a number of them are already compromised. And the matter of maintaining order according to the laws of the country, the question is, are they going to step up to the plate, or are they going to do what they have been doing up to now, which is sliding out of the legal responsibility and taking the side of the what is essentially now the oppressor? It is a very, very serious business that we are involved in here. And let me say straight away, I must commend you, Matt, and Lennox as well, for holding your positions and trying to see how we can get ourselves out of this situation and rebuild our country, because we are now in a very, very bad state. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. We have to wrap up and talk to Billy Doctorow. Big election is on tonight. Billy Doctorow versus Mr. Wilson. I'm hoping that we can talk to Billy, this afternoon before we wrap up. But with us, of course, very distinguished gentleman from officer in the DPP's office, of course, come from Marigot with love. Good afternoon to you. Afu Awi. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Linton.
You thought for a moment I could not speak the Kokoya.
What was that? That's what you did there, Matt?
Yeah, Afu Awi.
Afu Awi,
okay. We'll forgive you.
Yeah. So what's up, gentlemen?
I'm just here hanging out, having some fun on vacation in Dominica.
Okay. You've been listening quite attentively.
I've been listening, I've been watching, I've been concerned as usual as to what's happening. I see this bill changing the electoral law of Dominica. It's something I've been aware of some time back, but
You have been aware?
Yes, I saw that intention, that bill in bill format, probably some months ago. Might have been 7-8 months ago. Yeah, I was made aware of that. Haven't heard nothing since. I thought it was a joke.
But what are your views, though?
This is the first time. I've not been a lawyer for long, so I'm going to admit that. I've been a lawyer for 6 years now. But I read extensively. And it's the first time I've seen a legislation section that starts with, for the avoidance of doubt. I have never seen legislation start with the avoidance of doubt. Legislation, that's why you have courts to interpret legislation. And they say you must make legislation as clear as possible. But if you make it as clear as possible, you say you start the section, not nowhere to the bottom or to the end, you say for the avoidance of doubt. You start it at the beginning for the avoidance of doubt. And that is just to show that you're making your argument in law. You're starting your argument in law. Your argument is grounded, should be grounded in law. But I find it very strange that the drafters of this legislation should start it with for the avoidance of doubt. And for the avoidance of doubt was what we knew to be offenses within the law.
Okay.
And in trying to make offenses now illegal, you're saying for the avoidance of doubt, what we used to do before, what we did before, is now an offense. But I think one of the Manleys who said, do not pass a law that you will not like when you're in opposition.
Let me ask you, because I'm concerned as just not only a journalist but a Dominican, why are our local lawyers not speaking out? Deafening silence, what's going on?
I don't know.
You don't?
I can't speak for them.
You can't speak for them? But are you concerned as well that they may not be on something as controversial as that?
Well, yes, I would expect them to be able to speak freely. Free from political pressure, anything like that. I mean, you look at the law, you look at any piece of legislation, and if you're invited to give your comments, your views on that piece of legislation, I think you should be able to freely do so. I've been recently told, making a joke with some friends, and I said, well, understand there is a position going to be opened. I said, I'll apply for the position, and they told me that I've burnt my bridges. I find it funny that as a citizen of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and I want to stress, not by CBI means, I was born at the Princess Margaret Hospital, and for you to tell me that to get a job in Dominica, my bridges have been burnt. I mean, I just built an $18 million bridge. That is the bridge I built to repair my burnt bridges. So I think I should be able to speak out as an attorney and still fairly compete for a job.
But why would they come to that conclusion, though?
Well, they know what they know. I'm not going to force them to change their views, but I mean, I have my views, and I think that that should be respected.
With that said, in the past few months, I've been hearing a lot of, we don't have any justice in Dominica. The court systems seem a little corrupt politically. Have you heard that too?
I've heard that. It was amazing. I stood outside the High Court, and some gentlemen in the discussion that was said. I walked around to the back of the court, and some other persons were having that discussion, and I asked them, am I in the wrong place? What is going on? I said, that is the same nature of the topic that I heard up front, and that's the same nature. Some of it, I'll tell you what, it is said that let justice kind of, let it appear to be done, let it seem to be done. And for instance, in the principle of bias, the law says that you don't have to prove actual bias. You need, as long as it's perceived by the reasonable person, then it's bias. Well, if our justice system, some people say that the people are uneducated, so that's why they believe that the justice system is such as it is. Well, the Bar Association should take the lead, or somebody should take the lead, and educate the people on what the justice system is about, why things are said, why things are done certain ways, so that people can make a more informed decision, rather than leave the whole population or a segment within the population. And it doesn't have to be the majority, because laws are made to protect the minority and not the majority. Laws are always passed by the majority, and the purpose of laws should be to protect the minority. It should not be to protect the majority, because the majority are already there, and the laws are made to protect the minority of society. So if the minority, even if it's a minority of the persons within society who believe that they cannot go to the courts, which is our last bastion, our last defense to get justice, I mean, there is a serious problem that we need to have within the thing. But it looks like, I mean, the OECS court and the courts, I don't know how responsive they are in Dominica to persons who want to have an open discussion outside the realms or outside, the normal court process.
Or else.
Or else, people who want to have a discussion of like, well, what can we do, what should we do, etc.
All right, we'll take a few more phone calls and wrap it up about 2:30. I'm hoping to speak with, Mr. Doctrove. He's up for elections on the DOC tonight. What happens there? All right, let's take a phone call. Hello.
Mr. Peltier.
Yes, sir.
My apologies. Sorry.
To
you and welcome home to the gentleman.
Yes.
Is the honorable gentleman still in the house?
Yes.
Mr. Linton, blessings to you again, sir.
Blessings to you, my brother.
Matt, it's just a pity you haven't got time to play the engagement I had with Levi Peters this morning.
We have it recorded.
Matt, I telling you, that is very, very interesting. To need Matt to call, he had called already and make mention of my intervention. I thought Blessings was just a jack, but at least it's not cars alone I can raise up. Matt, you know he's a jack.
So what was your concern to Mr. Levi Peter?
What would have necessitated the amendments of this piece of legislation, which is there for how many years?
Big question.
Were the people who drafted it that naive? And now we can clearly see they did not foresee what we are seeing now, why we need to make changes to it. And the brother skirted around the issue, and I told him, why not consultation? Something as sensitive as that. And many other things I raised, Matt, that had him in a tie. And I really was concerned because I'm saying, yo, something as that, why the rush? I asked, what, is it just accommodation? You know, I am saying, isn't interfering with that is not the term they use when you come in conflict with the law. Mr. Attorney, what's the term again?
When you come in conflict of the law, do you know?
I just forgot the term, the legal term they use. They have a term they use when you come in conflict with the law.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Yes, I ask him, isn't that is coming in conflict with an existing piece of legislation? What is the problem with it? Why it needed the changes? And I do not think the brother, I don't know, the brother may have been shocked because he asked Cecil Joseph, why you extended the program? Because guess what? Blessings call. So really and truly, I am really concerned. And Matt, if it is not an accommodation or facilitation of those who say they want to be there for 2050, you can remember Roosevelt's carried utterances?
Yes.
He want to be there for 2050. So could he have seen well or foreseeing that, my brother, for me to remain there, I must make some changes to this corruption and the treating and bribery and all of that. So I want to give thanks to you, Mr. Linton and Wayne James and Hillary and everybody that could say, yo, wake up. Because what they're doing, Matt, they're saying there's nothing to it. They are further broadening the scope of treating and bribery for people to raise much more concerns and can take it to the court with much more width and length, so to speak. In closing, blessings.
Blessings too. We'll take 2 more phone calls. We'll allow our panel there to make a few more closing comments. Lennox Linton still in the house. Hello, talk to me.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Yes.
Matt, I think right about now we let Skerrit get away with too many things from 2004 to 2017. And right about now, it's time to put a stop to it. And let me say one other thing, Matt. I am calling on some people that like to inject themselves in our politics, people that are not born Dominican, rather directly or indirectly, stay out of our politics. We're not getting ourselves involved in the Caribbean politics. We're not getting ourselves involved in American politics. Keep your mouth shut out of our politics. Bye-bye.
All right, hello, talk to me.
Matt?
Yes.
Please see if you can find the tape again with Tony Astafan about the election. Thank you.
All right, hello. We'll try our very best. Hello. You want to make a comment there? All right, let's take another phone call from the diaspora, and then we'll have 5 more minutes. Hello.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Linton.
Good afternoon, yeah.
Thank you for taking the call. Matt, my take on this is that, if we allow this law to take in effect, we can expect Dimitri to be the next Prime Minister. And I strongly urge all Dominicans that this legitimizing of bribery is a move to turn Dominica into a one-party state under dictator Roosevelt's carrot. It is opportune that Dominicans needed to turn out and stand up to protect against what is coming. This is coming to take their democracy away from them. We need to revolt against that law. We just need to revolt against it, that it does not worm its ugly way into our constitution. If we sit back and allow that blatant stealing of our election to be legitimized, to be legislated, our citizens and our future generations will mark the enacting of that law on Tuesday as the beginning of the truly dark days ahead in our Dominican history. And, that may soon take a more ominous turn. We have to stand up and reject it to the fullest. And that matter should be rejected by every Dominican, regardless of party political affiliation or ideological leaning. We should reject it. We should say, no, this is not going to happen. And Dominicans need to turn out on Tuesday and revolt against that nonsense.
All right, caller, thank you very much. Let's allow the panel to speak at this time.
When you look at the section of the law, one of the intended amendments of the law called Section 57B, and I just read, for the avoidance of doubt, the transportation of electors or the facilitation of the transportation of electors to or within Dominica for the purpose of an election does not constitute an offense unless the transportation is provided or facilitated with the intent to corruptly induce an elector to vote for a particular candidate for whom or party for which the elector would not vote otherwise. When we look at what has gone on and what was discovered where these names were sent around and the recordings of the people who said that they were picking up names for the Labour Party particularly, I mean, do you need to show any intention who they're going to vote for? The fact that I'm giving you money and a ticket to come to Dominica, isn't that corruptly influencing you to come? So now, why does a person who makes the allegation have to go and split a head to find corrupt intent when the facts are clear? If they come to where I am and my name is on a list and they're finding out how much tickets I want, what I want, etc., that is to influence the votes. And to do that, that's corruptly influencing people to come to vote. So I don't know why they come and talk about for avoidance of doubt. As a judicial officer, anytime you pay for the ticket, I would find it to be corruptly intent. You can't come and tell me about for avoidance of which doubt. There were doubts before. It has been done in the last 3-4 election cycles. Are you telling me that when you did it, there was doubt as to whether it is or whether it's not? I think there is a private criminal complaint brought by some gentlemen concerning something similar to that I understand is in the graveyard of the court system in Dominica, which is
they're dragging their feet on this house.
So the government in the legislation that is bringing before the parliament is pleading its case in the legislation, the actual wording of the legislation. It's pleading its case in the treating matter against it, basically in principle. But Matt, you see, in the relationship the governments have with people in democracies, the people have the responsibility of selecting their government. They have the responsibility of monitoring the work and the conduct of their government, and they have the responsibility to discipline governments, parties serving in governments through the election process. What Roosevelt Skerrit is doing is attempting to turn our democracy on its head and deprive the people now of the right to discipline his party in government for the wrong things they're doing. And when they go through all that buying, when people buy you, or they buy your influence, or they buy your silence, they buy your support, they believe they own you and they control you, and therefore there's nothing you can get them to do that they're interested in. They'll do what they want. The problem Dominica faces with this sort of behavior is, look at all the failures of the Labour Party government under Roosevelt Skerrit over the past 13 years. No jobs, no growth of the economy, no new opportunities emerging for anybody. Stagnation in vital services across the country. The quality of life is at a standstill. The middle class is disappearing. People are experiencing greater and greater levels of poverty. But Roosevelt Skerrit does not believe that he is to account to people for those failures. so he must stay there indefinitely. The only way he can stay there indefinitely is if he succeeds with the trickery and deception that underlies the changes to the legislation that is seeking to legitimize now the illegal means through which he has been enforcing himself or placing himself on the backs of the people. And I only remind you, Matt, that we, over the next 5 days, are going to be very busy. Starting this afternoon, there'll be 18 public meetings around Dominica, ending on Monday night. We're going to Yam Peace at 6 o'clock this evening, Canefield at 8 o'clock tonight, Yam Peace again. No, it's not Yam Peace. We'll be in Good Hope at 6 o'clock and in Castlebrose at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow night, Friday, we'll be in Virgin Lane at 6 and Dailies at 6. We'll be in Lap Lane and Mont Prosper at 8 o'clock in the evening. On Saturday, we'll be at Rivier Rick at 6 o'clock, St. Joseph at 6 o'clock, Coolibet Street at 8 and Grand Fort 9. Woodford Hill on Sunday at 6 o'clock, Maho on Sunday at 6 o'clock, and we'll be in Wesley at 8 p.m. on Sunday night. Monday, we close at Marigot at 6, Salisbury at 6. Grand ending is at Fonkole, or public meeting in Fonkole on Monday night at 8 o'clock. And then we move to Tuesday morning, bright and early, 9 o'clock in Roseau. The people of Dominica are going to their parliament to speak to the government and to say, we will have none of these amendments to the legislation that you're planning to bring before the parliament.
Gentlemen, it was a pleasure.
Yes, it was.
Thank you very much.
All right,
thank you. Actually trying to connect there with Billy Doctorow, of course, who will be in for this major elections tonight. But, of course, the same Ronald Chaz had to make a point earlier. I'll allow him to do so while I keep trying to get in touch with Billy Doctorow. I'm trying to get Mr. Wilson as well. His phone is ringing busy, all afternoon. Hello.
Hi, Matt. I know you have a compact.
Very, very compact, yes.
And good afternoon to you and your listeners. Matt, the discussion this afternoon and moving forward, I think is very, very important. It has to do with the House of Assembly Election Amendment Act that apparently would be dealt with on Tuesday. Matt, this is a discussion that needs national attention. I think time is not on my side to really go into the discussion, as the highlight of our discussion is surrounding Section 57B. Transportation or facilitation of transportation is not an offense. Matt, I think that discussion needs to even go down to a referendum. I think the entire Dominica needs to get their hands, their understanding, and their knowledge base properly seasoned on this new amendment that would probably the intention is to pass it in Parliament. I would say to my people, this is not a Lennox Linton thing. This is not a Ronald Charles thing. This is not a Clement thing. This is a Dominican issue. You look at I was just curious. I was looking at Maduro. Maduro, apparently, who is in Venezuela, is if you listen to the news recently, is about to change the Constitution and have some amendments to be made to the Constitution. I don't know if it's a DNA of people in power about to probably lose that power. They seems to want to bring certain issues and certain things in law so that everything's become legal. The way Dominica is going, Matt, it is sad. And this section, the whole issue as it relates to the amendment of the the Elections Act needs to be revisited with a pin. And it needs to be scrutinized. It needs to be discussed. I would say this: the same way that the government is going around and educating, according to them, persons about the CBI program, what they're doing, and educating it, and having all these strong halls going around. This should be the discussions that should be going on in each constituency and making the average person on the ground get an understanding of what we're about to put Dominica to face for the future of our young people. And we're going to sit back, I have always said it, we're going to sit back as elderly persons and we're going to get palate from our young people, because they're going to say that how on earth we allow those kind of things to happen to us. And we sit there because we are in our comfort zone. Some of us are in the system. We're not talking, we're not saying nothing, because it does not affect us directly, because we are on what is called a seesaw. We're on the nice road. Things are moving nicely with us. We have no issues. So let them fight about it. And people are coming and try to explain basic English to us. Basic English as it relates to 57B, that you're telling me that electors, you can bring people to, within, around, into, all kind of things. And you're saying that, and the biggest word that I have an issue with there is the issue of, with the intention. Intention is not something that an average man can prove. You cannot prove those things easily. I'm very, very much concerned about this. I know that you have a distinguished gentleman in your midst, Mr. Clement, and I believe he's still there.
No, Mr. Clement left.
Sorry?
He left a few minutes back.
Right, but I believe this discussion needs to be open so that all of us can understand what is about to happen from the grassroots level. The man on the street, the barefoot man, need to get an understanding of what is about to go down. And if we allow it to happen, God is the only person that can save this whole system from crumbling.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ronald Charles, attorney at law, the same Ronald Charles. We're going to come back and talk to Billy Doctor. I think he's now available. Never underestimate, they say, the power of the people. These are the times. Try men so.
voice of the people is under relentless threat from negative forces of repression and fear-mongering, dressed up as lawsuits. Stand up to all efforts to shut out our voice and to shut up Q95, the People's Station, our only place to let our voices be heard and to let our ideas contend. Q95 is your radio station for factual, fair, and balanced discussions. Q95 contributes to our information and education about the real issues that affect our lives and our well-being. Don't give up our time to shine on Q95, the big station. Let's all patriots continue to be smart. Stand up and defend our people who value our independence. Continue to fearlessly express our fair and balanced thoughts and ideas for improving Dominica and the lives of all Dominicans. Let's not allow lawsuits to deter us. Let's stand strong, defend, and support our ever-expanding Q family of true patriots. From now until May 29th, Patriots Day. Mark that date only on Q95, only on the big station.
Very interesting. We have just about 17 more minutes and we wrap it up. But before we do, we need to talk to Mr. Billy Doctorow. He's on the cards for elections tonight on the DOC, challenging the incumbent Mr. Felix Wilson. I've been trying to talk to Mr. Wilson as well, but his phone seems, I guess, occupied. That's all I can say for now. But let's say good afternoon to Mr. Billy Doctorow. Hello.
Good afternoon, Matt, and good afternoon to your listeners on QFM.
Billy Doctorow, you seem very busy here. You're doing the last minute lobbying?
Yes, it has been a very hectic, almost 24 hours because, I was out of state for a short while, and I only came back in yesterday evening. So since then I've been having a couple of meetings here and touching base with quite a few people. Quite a few people have been in touch with me, in return calling me, giving me advice and as to how to go about, the election and what should I expect, what to look out for. So it has been interesting. 3 weeks since I decided to take on the challenge of the.
Oh, so why did you wait that long?
The thing is, man, as you know, I was involved in a dispute with the DOC 4 years ago, and we were fighting the very same issues that we are fighting now, and it came to nothing the last time. And I thought that many of the associations not betrayed me, but they didn't give the kind of support that we were expecting at the time. So I thought that it didn't make sense, and I was really despondent until I saw what was going on. I found out a lot of information, a lot of deeds by the DOC executive, and I just thought that if the guys were really serious about sports, that they would have taken a serious stance, but they didn't. And when they approached me again this year, I was again reluctant to go into it. But eventually, I was persuaded, and I decided to give it a run. But I had to put down some conditions. I had to ensure that the team that we were putting forward is a team that I was happy with, because I don't think I'll be happy with working with any of the guys that are on the DOC now, because I have lost a lot of respect for those guys. A lot of those guys have been involved in sports for a number of years. Some of them have led associations for a number of years. I don't believe that they should not have tolerated and upheld all the kind of issues, all the kind of nonsense that we have been hearing from especially from the president.
Billy, you say nonsense. You say from the now president. That's going on right now. Can you speak to us about some of these issues that you're concerned with?
Well, it's a number. I don't want to be too specific now. It's a number of issues. Just his whole management style. Some of the things that he has been involved in. Some of them were illegal, and some of them, whilst it was illegal, it was unethical. It was unethical and unprincipled, and sometimes unethical and unprincipled issues are even worse than illegal stuff. So I just thought that those guys should have stood up against him. And like I said, I don't want to go into any specific now. But I felt
so you don't want to get personal.
I just felt that he needed to be challenged. And when I was approached, the association themselves said that they were trying to get someone who would have felt that could give him a strong challenge. And they approached me, and then when I discussed with them, we had a couple of meetings, and then I decided to give it a run. So I'm very comfortable with the team that we have put forward. I think it's a very, very strong team. And I believe it's a team that can turn the DOC around. As I said, the issues that we have to deal with, quite a few issues in terms of not only promoting and developing sports in Dominica, but also trying to regain the principles of DOC, the public support, the public confidence in the DOC. All that is an all-time rule, because everyone just thinks of the DOC as a bunch of guys who are just having fun, who are out there looking after themselves, have their own egos, and so on. So we need to change that, because we cannot go forward without the support of the public. And the public support, the public opinion of the DOC now is at an all-time low. So this is one of the first things that we would have to try and get around, and to try and get the public on our side.
But tell me, the vote is a few hours away, Billy Doctor. How confident you are going in, as you said, 3 weeks before this vote?
Well, I'm cautiously confident. With election, as with any election in the secret ballot, someone can tell you whatever they're going to do, and then they say they do the direct opposite. But I'm cautiously confident. I have approached many of the associations. I think I have touched their consciences, and I actually have a very strong team working with me. I think that they have done a lot of work even when I was absent. They did a lot of work on the ground, and so I'm hoping that I know many of the associations, even one or two leaders who possibly want to support the incumbent, and I think they're under a lot of pressure from the general membership, because most associations, most of the membership saying that they need change because they're not happy with the management style, the aggression, the hostility, all the accusations and so on against the DOC. I think that they need to, they want to make a change, and as you recognize that the sports in Dominica is really at a very low ebb, and we need to just get things in place to try and revive the whole interest in sports. And I believe that many persons are saying that the current executive is not the way to go. And I believe that, as I said, our team is a very strong one. Confidence that we can do it. There's just too much. We just need to have a more inclusive and transparent.
How many votes are we looking at this time?
We're looking at in total 14 votes. We're looking at 14 votes. There are 11 associations eligible to vote. There are 2 members of the Athletes Commission, and the outgoing president, who is Mr. Wilson. He has a vote as an outgoing president. I really find that strange that that he seemed, but that is the constitution. That's what we have to live with. So we have 14 votes that can be cast today at the election.
Okay, my final question to you. I know time is usually of the essence for you. A very busy man. What is priority number 1, Billy Doctor, for you if you are elected the new president of the DOC?
Well, I don't think there's any one priority. There are quite a few things that we have to focus on. As I said, the development of sports, the support to the associations. There are quite a few associations who were kicked out of the Olympic Committee because they were non-supporters of the present regime. We need to get them back on board, because I'm of strong opinion that those associations, though they are not affiliated to the international body, and because of the lack of affiliation to the international body, they're not open to things like courses and funding and competitions. We believe that they lose not a lot because they're not affiliated to the international bodies. So we believe that it's important that we try and use the offices of the DOC to try and make them become more organized, more structured, so that they can become members of their affiliated body and then benefit. And as I said, the public support of the DOC, the public perception of the DOC is at an all-time low. And I just believe that it's important we try to win back the public confidence in the DOC because people are not happy about it. But one last thing before I go, Matt, I just want to say that I got a call this morning and I was kind of disturbed about it, where somebody was telling me that he had some information where he was saying that the current president would be up to some on the table tricks to try and interfere and influence the fair running of the election, or even try to prevent one or two associations from voting. So this is not the first time that I received a call along those lines, but this is the first time that I had received a call from such a high-ranking person, and I was taking that thing very, very seriously. So I just want to caution the associations and the media. I hope that they are allowed to cover this event because previously they are always...
You want transparency, huh?
Yeah, they always been from covering the media. So I hope this time that the media and the associations can remain vigilant and do not allow any one individual or group to interfere with the smooth running of the election and to allow democracy to prevail in the end.
All right. Well, Billy Doctorow, what time is that vote?
Well, the meeting starts at 5 o'clock at the Fortium Hotel, and that is the only thing on the agenda, the election. So I don't think it should be a long process. I don't think it should take longer than 1 hour, hour and a half maximum. So by 6:30, you will possibly know.
I will get the results, huh? All right. Well, again, best of luck. Wish you all the best. Thank you very much. It's 2:54. Just talking there to Billy Doctorow. Could not get, for some reason, I could not get to the incumbent president. Maybe if you can, and you're listening to me at this time, Mr. Felix Wilson, feel free to give me a call so we can connect on this one. Hello, get your side of the story. Hello.
Matt, good afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not Felix Wilson, it's Paul Joseph.
Okay.
Ardent sports listener, one who wishes to see sports development in Dominica go forward, and I am lending my support to Mr. Billy Doctorow. I believe he's a man with capable repute. He's a man who has made Dominica proud in the international world, and I believe, no doubt in my mind, that if he is elected as president of this organization, the organization will have somebody with a strong footing at the helm.
All right, caller, thank you very much. 2:55. Again, I'm saying that, Mr. Wilson, your phone seems to be off all afternoon. I can't seem to get access to you, but I really want to have a conversation with you as to the big vote this afternoon, hours after, just about 3 hours away. So let's see what happens. Okay, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and wrap things up here on the big story. The big program, Q9 to 5, Talk on the Block.
Chill, May 28th to June 3rd at the Evergreen, Anchorage and Fortune Hotels, Urban Garden Cafe, Hotel The Shops, Atlantic View and Riverstone Bar and Grill. Then on to Fort Shirley on June 4th for a day of true Nature Island vibes. Presented by the Government of Dominica with headline partner Discover Dominica Authority. Visit dominicafestivals.com for more information. May 28th through June 4th, 2017. Dominica's Jazz and Creole, a smooth island vibe.
National Lottery.
Caribbean Hype 246
2017. Your official international passport to soca music. Saturday, July 1st at the Pottersville Savannah. And it all kicks off at 8 p.m. Performing live. Major Mystic. Hype DJ. Also on the lineup. DJ Shop. Your band. Triple K International. The first Serenade band. Performing straight from Trinidad. Traveling The Voice. Lyrica. GBM Neutron. And from Barbados, Hyper Sounds. This is one event you don't want to miss for the summer. Saturday, July 1st. Tickets cost $30 at the gate, $40 at the door. Ultimate VIP cost $200. Tickets on sale from June 1st at the Whitchurch main office. Real beer is the carry. Pottersville Savannah. Fun, entertainment, music, love. Carrot beer, 246. Drink responsibly. Your soca passport. See you there.
The voice of the people is under relentless threat from negative forces of repression and fear-mongering, dressed up as lawsuits. Stand up to all efforts to shut out our voice and to shut up Q95, the People's Station, our only place to let our voices be heard and to let our ideas contend. Q95 is your radio station for factual, fair, and balanced discussions. Q95 contributes to our information and education about the real issues that affect our lives and our well-being. Don't give up our time to shine on Q95, the big station. Let's all patriots continue to be smart. Stand up and defend our people who value our independence. Continue to fearlessly express our fair and balanced thoughts and ideas for improving Dominica and the lives of all Dominicans. Let's not allow lawsuits to deter us. Let's stand strong, defend, and support our ever-expanding Q family of true patriots. From now until May 29th, Patriots Day. Mark that date only on Q95, only on the big station.
Attention, New York City. Island Vibe Production and NY Production presents White and Gold Memorial Sunday Fest at La Rouge Hall in the Bronx, New York. May 28th from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. Music by DJ Cosmo, DJ Lolo, DJ Big Ben, the Booyah King Asa Banton, and for the first time in 4 years, the WCK Band. If you don't have white or gold, just come to party. For tickets, visit wck-ny.eventbrite.com or call 646-670-0076. $35 advance tickets. Be there.